We're going to give it a minute here to allow more participants to get in. Okay, we'll get going. My name is Brian Scow. I'm the AOBTA Communications Consultant, and I want to welcome you to the August 2021 AOBTA Connect and Learn webinar. Also supporting this webinar are Wayne Myland, AOBTA Managing Director, and Matthew Swigert, AOBTA Communications Director. This webinar is on You Are the Medicine by grandmother Winter Jade Forest, and I'm pleased to introduce her. Formerly Lindy Frigno, shiatsu specialist, she has been practicing and teaching across the US and Europe for 45 years. She studied directly with Dr. Shizuto Mazunaga, creator of Zen Shiatsu, over a 3-year period shortly before his death, and moved to Germany to apprentice with his #1 protege, Shinmei Akinobu Kishi, creator of Seiki Soho, for 2.5 years. She was one of a group of 13 practitioners who initiated the formation of the AOBTA and served as co-director of education until its incorporation. Besides her expertise in shiatsu, Jade has studied intensively with shamanic healers of 4 cultures and was ordained into the Cherokee priesthood in 2015. As such, she is called Grandmother Winter Jade Forest and counsels groups and individuals with traditional practices for spiritual development. She currently lives and practices outside of Chicago. Jade tutors Zen Shiatsu Chicago's faculty and offers workshops in shiatsu and shamanic spiritual practice. She holds a 4-day residential shiatsu workshop retreat on Lake Michigan in Wisconsin every year, and that's coming up next month. Before we get started, I just want to remind people that you're in webinar format, so we can't see or hear you, but please go ahead and ask questions as they come up and put those questions either in chat or in Q&A. Matthew Swigert will be monitoring those boxes and presenting those questions at appropriate times to Jade. So with that, Jade, go ahead.
Hi. Well, this is my second webinar with AOBTA, and I have to say I'm very happy to be back. It's my pleasure to do this and to shed some light on the things that I've come across in my own practice over the years. So one thing I wanted to say to begin with, though, is that we did have some difficulty technically with this. I trying to share some slides that I had. So they will be available on the website after this webinar, and I'm going to have to be switching back and forth on my screens to read them to you, I think. But the topic of this particular webinar is You Are the Medicine, and your hands are simply the device that you use to administer the dosage of your medicine. So I wanted to start with a slide that says that, you know, we talk about what we learn in school. What I want to make the difference between is what we learn in school and why we learn it that way, and what we miss out in school because of the I don't know, the cultural, I guess I was going to say cultural bias, but I don't want that misunderstood. Just our cultural bent on things about standardizing testing, making things fair, and things like that. So what we do learn in school is this amazing cosmology and a lot of information about the Asian medicine. And I wanted to start with the basics of the cosmology, which is the Tao is the one. From the one comes the two, or the yin and yang. From these two, creative energy. From energy, 10,000 things, the forms of all creation. All life embodies the yin and embraces the yang, through their union, achieving harmony. That's from the chapter 42 of the Tao Te Ching. And that's the basic premise of our medicine. Everything comes out of that. And as well, it's cosmology. We also learn the foundations of Asian medical theory. We learn Asian medicine diagnostic methods, depending on which form of the Asian medicine that we use, if it's acupuncture or herbology or body work. We have different diagnostic methods. We learn the meridians, the point locations, treatment techniques, and a lot more, right? And that is all in what we call a sort of mental model. Mental models are used, and cosmologies, mental models and cosmologies are used for us to form our idea of how things work in the world. They help us understand things. And they're very useful in that way. The one problem that we have with using any one mental model is that we can try to interpret everything through the one model, and we might miss things. And so what I have found in my practice is that having more than one mental model, more than one cosmology, and learning each of them well, when we find out where they mesh, where all of that comes together, where they meet and make a broader, fuller, I guess, somehow, idea of how the universe works, that works in our favor in terms of when we're treating our clients. So let me see, next, oh, this will be fun when you get these handouts. I have a little cartoon of Jesus preaching to his disciples, and one of the disciples is raising his hand saying, "Is this going to be on the final?" And so that's to mention our bias in how we learn is we do have to teach to the tests in a certain way so that our students get the chance to actually pass the national exams or state exams, whatever they have to do. That's our responsibility. And there is so much information in this medicine that what happens, in my opinion, when we fill our curriculum with that, can I say scientific stuff? I mean, we do learn anatomy and physiology and stuff too, but when we fill it with all those facts that are testable, we don't get really to study as students the part that really interests us, which is the part that you can't test. It's subjective. It is, how do you understand what you're learning? How do you make it work inside your own self? How do you the thing that attracts us, most of us, to this medicine in the first place is this broad worldview that incorporates the idea of what I call magic, the mystery of life, the stuff that we feel and know somehow, but can't quite explain. That is the real medicine, if you will, from my point of view. So we have that, and let me just look at my next slide here. So there is another cartoon in the next slide that is the story of a fish looking for enlightenment and goes swimming out into the depths of the ocean. And when it gets dark, this fish dives down in and finds sitting at the bottom of the ocean, meditating, the great octopus. And the fish swims up to the octopus, interrupts the meditation, and says, "Oh, great one, can you tell me how to find water? Where is water? What is it? Can you help me find it?" And the octopus comes out of his meditation, starts with one of his tentacles scratching his head and says, "Water, water, how can I put it?" Right? And I feel like that's what draws us to this medicine, is we're already in this ocean that we feel we have somehow, but it's so unconscious that we don't realize that we're in it in a certain way. It's like air. We don't think about the fact that we are breathing air every second of the day. And so, again, I want to say that is, for me, the real draw to the medicine, is all that wonderful information that we're swimming in and don't realize. So there is this scientific information about the brain and how much it processes. That our senses take in millions of bits of information every minute. And it is so overwhelming for the amount of mental capacity that we have that we filter most of it out. And the statistics say that we actually process about 50 of these millions pieces of information that we take in every minute. And so all the rest is in the subconscious and unconscious. And what we learn in school is everything that we can do at the conscious level. What we feel when we're working is everything that's going on at the subconscious and unconscious levels. And so that is where I think the spiritual practice comes in. And again, to say it in terms of spiritual practice, that's another cultural bias. We don't have a word to say what it really is. In ancient indigenous cultures, this wasn't spiritual work, it was normal, just the normal way to perceive life. And you know, with the onset of technology and the way we live in today's world, that part isn't given much weight, let's say, anymore. But that is what really works in terms of healing. So let me just go check my slides again, pardon me. So I think the parts of the study that we miss out on a lot is more in depth. We need to do a general anatomy and physiology and all that stuff. We also, of course, learn the anatomy of the meridians and the points and all that, but we don't get to sort of hone in on, because our course of study, 500 to 1,000 or 1,200 hours in some schools, that amount of time doesn't really give us the time to go into depth in the parts of the anatomy and physiology that are most important to our practice. And to me, those are, of course, the hand-brain coordination, the mind, and the role of intuition. Those four things, I think, are really what draw us in the first place. And the Japanese say that the hand is the most sensitive instrument for diagnosis, and that there will never be invented any machine or any mechanical thing that can be as sensitive as the hand. And if we think about those millions of pieces of information that we are taking in through our senses, our eyes, our ears, our skin, every minute, and can't process, then I think you can make the case, if you need a scientific reason to validate intuition, I think you can make the case that intuition may be part of that other millions of bits of information that we take in, but are not consciously aware of, right? So I think that's a big part of our practice. And again, let me just check about the hand. This slide says that the hand is our primary tool. Its anatomical structure and neural control are among the most complex and detailed of all human motor systems. Having more information and understanding of it would only increase our skill level and decrease instances of fatigue and injury. And the brain controls thought, memory, emotion, touch, motor skills, vision, breathing, temperature, hunger, and every process that regulates our body. And some of the systems that are most important to us as body workers are the vestibular system. And I'm going to mention 4 systems here and only one thing that goes with each of them, but each of these systems, of course, regulates a whole bunch of things. But the vestibular system, from our point of view, is important because it controls, it's got the fine control of visual gaze, and we use that visual gaze in a very particular way in one of the pillars of diagnosis, observation, right? Another brain system is proprioception, which allows the body to control its position for optimal locomotion. This is important to us when we're working around a table or around a futon, around the person's body. And it's also important, of course, for our posture. There's a brain function called interception, which is the proper control of behavior, which is important for us in terms of the integrity of our practice. And then, of course, the sensory system, which is one of my favorites, the 5 senses and the 6th sense, intuition. And these are the building blocks of our experience, of creativity, and even of happiness. So the senses include sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, plus the sixth sense, intuition. And we use them all at once. We think of them as separate, but they are working totally differently. They work in a different way. And I have written myself some notes that I'm going to check here to let you know about this information that I found when I was researching for this webinar. And the senses, everything our senses pick up, perceived or unperceived, is received as vibration. And it's translated through the brain via the language of electrical impulses. And we are bioelectric and biomagnetic. We're electromagnetic. And the more sensitive we become to this vibrational aspect of the electrical information our bodies receive from our senses, the more appropriately we can respond. So, but we need to know the difference between our own vibrational frequency and our clients or anyone else even in a room that we're talking to. So I wanted to give you this one. This is a shamanic practice from the curandero or curandero, curanderismo, I guess you would say, from Mexico. This is a practice to feel your own vibration. So what you do is you take the backs of your fingernails, and I'd like for you to do this to see if you can feel this. Take the backs of your fingernails and start rubbing them together, and rub them together really fast and really hard. And we're going to do this for about a minute. So as you do this, get it going faster, 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 faster. You'll start to feel your hands vibrate a little bit faster, yet faster, and a little harder. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, so we're not going to do it for a minute. We're online, and a minute's a long time like this. So go ahead and stop and see if you can feel your hands vibrating. If you can get really quiet inside yourself, you might feel that vibration even up your arms. And if you do this often enough, fast enough and hard enough, you will begin in your quiet time when you let go to feel this vibration throughout your whole body. And this you can identify as your vibratory rate and frequency. And that you want to get familiar with that. You want to know your frequency, your vibration very well so that you can tell it apart from anyone else's that you feel, right? So, yes, after becoming clear about the energy that's you want to be able to calibrate your own vibration. And these are things that you learn through shamanic practices. You can transmit that vibration. Once you get to control it, you can transmit it through your touch. And that's how your hands deliver the sensorially derived dosage of manual medicine. So your vibration while you're touching somebody transmits to them. You, as body workers, our tool is not needles, it's not herbs. Our tool is our body, not just our hands. And you can transmit a certain vibration to your client once you gain control of this that will balance and harmonize what's going on in them. Once you start getting more in touch with the unconscious, whether or not you can name it, you don't need to be able to put a label on what you're feeling. As long as you can acknowledge it and know that you are feeling it, then you can interact with it, respond appropriately to it. You learn to calibrate your vibration, and you can then transmit the vibration to your client that's going to work the magic, what I call the magic. Okay, let me take a look at my slides. And so then we come to the mind. And this slide, again, you'll be able to get these on the AOBTA website, says we typically divide the mind into three parts: the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. This is one of the gifts, one of the great things that Freud gave to us, is this division of consciousness, right? So the conscious mind contains all the thoughts, memories, feelings, and wishes that we're aware of. it is like, you know, they show this like an iceberg, right? And in this iceberg, the littlest bit of the top is the conscious mind. There's a little bit below that that is the subconscious, and then everything else is the unconscious. Most of our consciousness is in the unconscious. So the conscious mind contains everything we're aware of. The subconscious mind stores everything that's not in your conscious mind. That means your beliefs, your experiences, your memories, and even your skills. The unconscious mind stores a lifetime of thoughts, perceptions, sensations, feelings, memories, and bits of information that we have experienced and forgotten, including the unacceptable or unpleasant ones like pain, anxiety, or conflict. So from my point of view, as a practitioner, it is incumbent upon us to sort of get comfortable with this uncomfortable stuff, because our clients are coming in to us with that for some balancing out of that, for some recovery from it, these kinds of things. And that means we need to be able to deal with our own painful memories, instances, be able to come to the point. In my Cherokee lineage, my teacher, Grandmother Rivers, said the reason why you go into this stuff, learn about this stuff and work through it is not because you need to forget it, but because you need to get all the charge out of it. And then the memory of it is just for you to use to help other people, so that they know they're not alone, but you need to get rid of your charge. And so I feel that this is important, and there are ways to do this. And of course, psychotherapy is one way, spiritual practice is one way, becoming an artist is one way. So painting, singing, dancing, all these things elicit the true you, bring up your emotions and give you the chance to look at it and hopefully not only identify it, but work through it, come to a place of peace. And then that can be offered to our clients in terms of healing. And this, again, this is all done through this electromagnetic being that we are, being able to calibrate our vibration, come to a place of harmony, balance, all like that. So the mind is very important. Also, the part of the mind where your beliefs are in the subconscious, what you believe and how you consider your beliefs also has a certain vibratory rate within you. And that's another reason why having more models and more cosmologies to open your mind and give you more possibilities for the various ways you can vibrate, the various ways you can help. This is all really not only helpful for our clients, but in terms of developing your own self as a healer, for one thing, but just as a person too. It's really helpful, and it's not always easy, but it's always worth it. The benefits are much greater than any strain that you go through. So the mind is very important. How we think, what we think, how we think it, and how we relate these ideas. All right, so, all right, we come to intuition. And if you read my article before this webinar, you saw that I identified certain things that form intuition. And among them, these 4 things: knowledge, experience, sensory awareness, and I called it a certain mysterious something. That's the magic. So intuition actually bridges the gap between the conscious and the non-conscious parts of our mind. And it gives us the chance to know something directly without analytical reasoning. And regular meditation, guided visualizations, journeying, many other spiritual indigenous practices open your mind and vision and put you in touch with that mysterious something and get you familiar with it. And we can learn some of these things in some of the schools that we go to. Qigong might be taught, Tai Chi, meditation. These are all good ways to open yourself up to the intuition, to really feel the bigger being that we are. I like Carlos Castaneda's use of the word luminous egg when in his books about Don Juan and Don Genaro, and this luminous egg that is really our body. This physical part is only a portion of our body. We have an emotional body, a mental body, a spiritual body, and probably many more bodies that we don't need to use when we're doing our bodywork craft. But yeah, so this role of intuition is huge in our practice, and developing ourselves in these ways, again, being an artist is part of what was required of a doctor of Asian medicine back in the days of old. So all the information that we learn in school that says we've graduated and we've got it, that was just the base. And after that, you had to learn philosophy, and you had to write poetry and paint and become an artist, and actually sort of become a wise being to be considered a real doctor. I don't know, real doctor, good doctor, maybe. So developing these things in yourself is also, again, enriching beyond helping you be a good healer. It's just enriching to your own self. Okay, so intuition is really important. And there is a saying in the Seminole way that says, new vision is created when we draw on the old ways. And the name of my business is called The New Medicine of the Old Ways. And when we talk about the old ways, these are typically from traditions that are nature worshipers. And so we think about the old ways as being in balance with the earth and with the heavens. And well, there are many of these shamanic teachers that I've had that have said that these old ways, this is really a living medicine. And the phrase, it's a living medicine, means it changes with the times. It meets the needs of the people at the time in which it is practiced. And so that's why I call it the new medicine of the old ways. The old ways are not forgotten, but we can wield them in different ways. And so I would like to take this opportunity now to lead you through a meditation that puts you in touch with Mother Earth and Father Sky, or Earth and Heavens. And I'm doing this in a particular, for a particular reason, which is to let you see how, if you can really get in touch on a feeling level rather than just an imagination in your mind, to really feel the earth in you and really feel the sky, the heavens in you, how that will change your vibratory rate, and you will be able to feel it at the end of this. So I'm going to ask you to just find yourself in a nice, comfortable sitting position, and as comfortable as you can be with a straight back. If you're in a chair, maybe sit your derriere back really far so that your spine is straight. And just start to relax. You can relax your scalp. You almost feel the hair growing out your head. Your forehead is relaxing too. Any furrows in it are just opening and relaxing. Your eyes are relaxing now, and you might remember most of your eyeball is in your head. We see a very small part of it in the front. So feel your eyeballs in the back of your head, and they are bathed in their own fluid. So let them float in your skull. Your ears are relaxing now. Your inner ear is opening. Your nose is relaxing. You can feel the nose hairs filtering the air as you breathe in. Your sinuses are opening. Your jaw is relaxing. Your lips may or may not separate, but your teeth definitely separate in your mouth, and your tongue is loose. And with all that sensory apparatus in your head now relaxing, your spine, you become aware of your spine from your head all the way down to your tailbone. And as it relaxes, the spaces between the vertebral segments get bigger, they open up. And so this opening, this relaxation means that your head ascends even as your tailbone descends. You're opening in opposition. And as you continue to expand your vertical axis in this way, up and down at the same time, you become aware of your ribs wrapping around from your spine around to your sides and in front at your sternum. And this gives you your horizontal axis. So as well as expanding up and down, you're also expanding left and right. You get wider as you get taller, longer. And right below that cylinder of your rib cage is your pelvic bowl. It sort of makes the bottom of that barrel. And it also is part of the horizontal axis. So as it widens, you feel like you are sitting more firmly on whatever you're sitting on. And that base gives the opportunity for the spine to continue lengthening in both directions, up and down. And with that expansion vertically and horizontally, your shoulders begin to just relax and let go down through your arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers. Because your bones are light and lifting, your muscles can have their true weight and just relax on the bones without you collapsing. And just as your spine continues to elongate and your torso continues to widen, your shoulders continue to relax from the shoulder to the fingertips. Also, the hip girdle begins to relax the legs, your thighs, knees, legs, ankles, feet, and toes. And so with your body relaxed in this way, you can imagine descending from the base of your coccyx, your tailbone, your taproot going down through the chair or floor that you're sitting on, down through the layers of your building, down until it touches the earth. And when it does, your taproot begins to spiral into the earth, to burrow in. And this burrowing in churns the soil. And that churning of the soil aerates the soil. And the air then from within the earth travels up your taproot, enters into your belly, and this lovely warm breeze swirls around and rises up inside you behind your breastbone, behind your face, turning around between your skull and brain and descending down in front of your spine inside you. This lovely warm breeze back through your belly and taproot into the earth, where more churning and aerating brings up more of this warm breeze up through your root, swirling in your belly, rising up behind your breastbone, behind your face, around inside your head, down in front of your spine, through your belly, into the earth. This warm breeze, up, around, and down, up, around, and down. And your root travels deeper into the earth, coming across now these rocks and crystals and metals buried there. This is the earth element. And this power and strength of rock, combined with this shiny light of the gems and metals, comes up as one. A power of light from within the earth rises up your taproot, enters into your belly and swirls around. This power, this light strength rises up behind your breastbone, behind your face, turns between your skull and brain, and this light descends down in front of your spine, swirling in your belly, back through your taproot, back into the earth, where more of these gems and metals and rocks bring more earth energy, the light within the earth rising up, swirling in your belly, rising up behind your breastbone, inside your head and down in front of your spine, up, around, and down. Strength and power of light, up, around, and down. And further down grows your taproot, coming across now these crystal pure, cool springs of water. And this water rises up your taproot, plumping it up, enters your belly and swirls around. This lovely, cool, refreshing, pure water rises up behind your breastbone, behind your face, around inside your head and down in front of your spine, back through your belly, through your taproot, back into the earth, where more of this crystal clear water rises up, swirls inside you, rises up behind your chest and face, around inside your head and down in front of your spine, back through your belly and taproot into the earth, up, around, and down, up, around, and down. And further down now goes your taproot, right to the core of the earth, the fire at the center, the passion of life. And this intense heat comes up your taproot like a warmth, expanding you, rises up, enters your belly, swirls around, and rises like fire does right up behind your chest, behind your face, around between your skull and brain, down in front of your spine, warming you, enlivening you down through your taproot back to the center, the core of the earth, where more fire comes up, around, and down. Up, around, and down. All of this nourishment from your earth mother in this central circuit continues to come up, around, and down. And it's more than the central circuit can contain. And so all of this beautiful energy spreads now through your nerves and through your blood vessels, into all your tissues, into your bones and your marrow, into your blood and all your fluids, into your muscles, skin. And still this nourishment continues to flood into you. And so you make an opening at the top of your head, and Mother Earth reaches up through the top of your head to touch her love, the Father Sky, in this golden globe about a foot and a half above your head. The earth touches that golden globe, and down comes this golden nectar down through your head, down in front of your spine, swirls in your belly and rises back up behind your chest and face, up through the top of your head to that golden globe. And more of this golden nectar comes down, around, and up. Not only like nectar, like honey, but also like golden stardust. Down through the top of your head, down in front of your spine, swirling in your belly, rising up behind your chest and face, back to that golden globe, down, around, and up. Inside you, Mother Earth and Father Sky have met. They're traveling separately, but together in that same circuit, sharing their love and spreading that love out through your nerves and blood vessels to every tissue in your body. You are made of the love between Mother Earth and Father Sky, the heavens. Let yourself just bask in it. You're anchored in the earth and anchored in the heavens, free to float as a human being between them, connected, totally connected. The earth and the heavens are what we call your spiritual DNA, your spiritual mother and father. This is equally what you're made of besides your body. This is part of your body. And I hope you can feel that you're vibrating differently than when we began, and that this is accessible to you all the time. And there are practices that we can use to begin to control that vibration, orient it toward this thing or the other. To what we want in our life, to the love for our family, to when we're treating our clients. And so this body that you are, made of love, connected to earth and sky, this is your tool. You are the medicine. And through your hands, you can deliver whatever dose of it your client needs at the moment. So if you haven't already, you can start to open your eyes. And as you come back to what we call normal consciousness, try to keep as much of this feeling about who you are, what you're really made of, as possible. The more you do it, the easier it gets to walk and talk in this reality of what you are. Yeah. So Matthew, I'm just wondering if there are any questions coming forward.
I think this is the time to put out a call for questions. So far, none have actually come through. I imagine people are still quite immersed in the experience that you just led us through.
Well, that would be good.
And I would give them a moment to return to that questioning consciousness so they can ask what might be on the final.
Okay. I like that, Matt.
Yeah, let's see.
So let me just say while that's happening that this part of our being, this full part that is connected to earth and heavens, this part that, really is our tool and how we are. This is what I want to develop in that residential. It's a 4-day residential retreat on Lake Michigan. It's coming up next month. And I have a lot of shamanic practices to teach at this time, but they will also be oriented toward the body work and not just toward your own development. Although your own development is what gets put into the body work that we're doing. And I also want to say that my own conviction that this is really helpful for us as practitioners is that I quite naturally gravitated toward this aspect of treating people. And so I have studied with Celtic shamans, a Russian shaman, a Native American Cherokee medicine woman. I've done some Hawaiian work with soul retrieval, and this broad view, although my bodywork technique is Zen Shiatsu, it always has been, it still is. I have to say, I don't need any new techniques that I've learned from these other things. My technique is a Shiatsu technique. But that cosmology from each of those things has so informed my view of the world that what I pick up when I'm treating people is much greater than any one modality, any one mental model, any one cosmology could give. And therefore I'm sharing all of what I've learned, because I have the bias that hands-on work is superior to all other healing. So it's just my bias. It's not a truth, it is my truth. And, you can't convince me otherwise, but I don't feel the need to convince you that I'm right either, if you have another view. So there we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, no, wait, Piers suggests, he makes a comment that this was beautiful and peaceful. So peaceful. Thank you so much.
One of the best meditations ever.
Yeah, love the meditation. One of the best meditations ever.
Mm.
And I just want to remind everyone to check the chat for links to the retreat that Lindy will be offering, as well as the retreat center where she will be offering this retreat. And there's a question in the Q&A. Let's see what that has to say. How often would you recommend doing this exercise during COVID-19 pandemic as a practitioner?
That is a great question. How often is a great question, COVID-19 or not, because daily practice is what really sets into your body, to your actual cells, this new vibration. So the common thought about if there are many cultures, indigenous cultures, that look at the body in these 4 levels that I mentioned: body, emotions, mind, and spirit. And within that model, that common model, they say that the body is at the slowest vibration of the body. So the slowest is the physical, next slowest the emotional, and then faster is the mental, and even still faster is the spiritual. Because the body is at that slowest, densest vibration, you need regular practice to really set this in. And in terms of COVID-19, I have to say what I have noticed in our world is that fear is rampant, and it's not just fear of the disease. I feel like all the violence that's erupting in our nation is sort of the acting out of fear. And I think fear comes from not knowing what's coming next. People hate to not know. And so again, doing this more regularly, putting yourself at peace, taking yourself out of that fear mode is a wonderful thing to do, particularly for us as practitioners, to be able to have that place in us to offer to our clients at a time when they're going through so much. Yeah, daily practice is definitely good. If you can't do it daily, do it as often as you can. And if you can't put aside X amount of time for the whole thing, do little bits of it during the day. And the important part, from a shamanic point of view, the important part is not to just think it, but to actually feel it, to put it inside you. We are carbon-based entities. That means we are made of earth stuff. We're made of air and earth and water and fire. That's in our physical body. So feel it. Don't just think it.
Would you also, the question arises, would you also, for instance, bring in the emotions correlated to those elements during this meditation? Would that be a layer that could be?
Say more of what you mean. What do you mean bring in the
Well,
emotion?
for instance, when we're dropped down that tap root down into the soil and we're aerating that soil, what arises in terms of loss and gain? You know,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that in this meditation. I would do that, you know, with a therapist or with a good friend or something like that, to think about that. But in the meditation, when you're trying to work at the spiritual level, the emotions don't need to be there. The soul doesn't feel pain. We feel pain in a different part of our body, but that spirit part, that soul part, doesn't feel pain. So when we're doing the meditation, if those feelings arise, it's not to deny them, but being able to put them aside to deal with later in the proper way, and continue to try and just feel that air inside, that life breathing in you. That builds your spirit and it makes you stronger.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then Kara Esberg asks, between the vibration felt in the fingernail exercises
Mm-hmm.
as compared to versus the vibration felt in the exercises like Qigong, what's the difference in your words? Or are they the same?
Okay, so I would say both. They are different and the same. And the reason why I say it that way is because many times, some of you might be lucky enough to get these exercises in the real traditional way, but many times as we adapt and adopt other cultures, we do it from our own cultural perspective. And oftentimes what's missing in these Qigong lessons that we learn, these classes that we take, you know, we learn the movements, we learn a certain attitude about them, but what is really effective in making them truly work is what they call the secret part. And the secret part is what you are thinking and feeling as you do it. So there is, in many Qigong classes that I've been in, there is talk of the golden elixir, but the idea of feeling it in your body, feeling it enter you, and feeling it pervade your cells is not often talked about. And that is the part that makes your vibration stronger. And that's what will match it with the same thing that you get with your fingernails, or help you feel that sameness. But again, the mind is so important in what we do. And it's one of those aspects of the teachings that we can't really go into in school for time reasons, and also for testing reasons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hope
Yeah.
that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that answered her question beautifully. And she also says, thank you, just beautiful.
Oh,
And then affirmed, yes, thank you.
okay, great.
Yeah. Connecting that understanding of that, really coming into communion with and connection with your own vibration.
Yeah.
I was speaking with a colleague yesterday, and it was about how do you create filters when there's so much going on in the world? How do you recognize what's yours as opposed to what is in the field and what is swirling around? And I believe the earlier question too about COVID is a similar question. It's asking us, how do you tap into your own unique signature vibration and your own connection between mother and father, sky and earth?
Well, I mean, that's a huge question. And the answer is way longer than we have left in this webinar, unfortunately, because I love that question. I would love to go into it, but I can say that that is exactly what I'm going to be dealing with in that residential retreat in September. These are great questions. They're timely right now, but they're always timely. And it's a really important thing to be able to keep our own field clear and clean so that we don't get drained, we don't get fatigued, and we don't get depressed, right? As healers, we want that. But I just want to say real quickly that I can't go into all of that this quickly. What I do want to say is if anybody is interested in coming to the retreat, there are still openings. And if you let me know, the biggest discount has already passed. But if any AOBTA members want to come in, I will open up that discount again. And this is 4 days, starting on a Thursday night through to Sunday afternoon, it goes. And you get, for $697, you get room and board, your own private room and private bath, 3 meals a day, plus all the instruction. So it's a really good deal.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, at this point, we are at that time. So I'll invite Brian to come back in and share the wrap up. Thank you so much, Winter Jade.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Matthew. And thank you, Jade, for another wonderful webinar. I really enjoyed that, and I'm sure everybody else did too. And best wishes for that retreat. Sounds very nice and wonderful value. So next month for the AOBTA Connect and Learn webinar, we're not quite confirmed on it, but we are planning on having Wayne Milan, our managing director, present our Learning Academy. So we're wrapping up the on-demand version of the convention that we held, and that runs through or to September 1st. And then once that is taken down, we'll be launching the Learning Academy, putting most of the videos from the convention on the Academy to start, and then we'll be adding new offerings as we go forward. So look for that notice. And thanks everybody for attending. This is a wrap on this webinar.
Winter Jade also had 4 hours of presentation at the convention, correct?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So you can get more of Winter Jade on our learning management platform. And so we really look forward to launching that and introducing you all to it. Very excited for the AOBTA Learning Academy, says Piers.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much. Thank you very much. This was beautiful.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, have a beautiful day. Thank you.